Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. After record liquidation after years of drought, Oklahoma producers are in the process of rebuilding their herds. And one option they have is to turn to technology to time the breeding process.
What we're doing today is we're out here with a breeding box, is what we call this structure behind me. And what it does, it allows us to come in with 2 or 3 people that are able to AI, and they will bring cattle in here. We have two stalls that we can put 2 heifers, 2 cows, whatever they might be, in at a time, and then we will take and use the semen that the customer wants.
Using this chute-side box, in addition to a 10-day synchronization process to ensure the cattle are ovulating, means trading a little bit of cost for a big reduction in labor.
As you notice, it's a dark area. These cattle come in and they're calm, they're on ground, and there's just a pole behind them. And our conception rates seem to be a lot better when we're able to use less stress on the heifers or cows as they come through this process.
Evidence of just how much technology has advanced since the early days when few producers actually used AI, and those who did mainly worked in the dairy industry.
We went from that point where there was just a few people servicing the dairies and then helping with the beef people to where now, it's not uncommon to have, at least, 10 or 15 people in a county that can AI for other people around.
To learn more about the sync protocol used to get these cows ready to breed on the same day, we turn to Oklahoma State University animal breeding specialist Dan Stein.
Protocol began when the cows were processed or brought into the chute, and we administered a progesterone called a CEDAR, controlled internal drug release, and we gave a shot of GnRH. The CEDAR was in for a week, 7 days, and the day we pulled the CEDAR, we gave a shot of prostaglandin. Then we're in a timing window of about 60 to 66 hours we have that we come back and start breeding cattle. Right before the cattle are entering the breeding box, we are administering the 3rd injection, which is another shot of GnRH to ensure those cows have ovulated. So some of the older protocols that we had, we were just able to synchronize what we call estrus, or a standing heat period, where we'd have to come out and visually observe and watch for standing heat and then breed off those times that we observed. Today the protocols are such that we can synchronize ovulation within that standing heat period or that estrus period, and we show up at a certain time on a certain day, start breeding cows.
So there's some sophisticated management that goes into it, but the benefit is that you're controlling that breeding time, and all your cows are getting bred at the same time?
Bred at the same time, and that takes a lot of labor out of, again, if I was just had my cows just what we called a synchronized standing heat period, I'd be out here maybe morning and night observing animals that were standing heat and then coming back and breeding those either the next morning or that evening. And a lot of labor, just individual labor there. Here, everything's done at one time. There's still labor involved, but it's just down to a day. So.
And if I'm a producer who's rebuilding my herd after a couple of rough years, this is a decent option?
It is. I feel like here in Oklahoma, as far as the opportunities we have as we rebuild our herds, the use of artificial insemination again, we can bring in a sire that has proven genetics, and again, I can always buy a bull out of the semen tank for a lot less money than I can on hoof. So we do have that opportunity, especially with our small producers. Most of our producers in the state have cows with 50 head or less in their herd, and again, this is another management tool that we can use in that rebuilding program.
A tool we may see much more of as Oklahoma's cattle herd continues to bounce back.
I'm Al Sutherland with your Mesonet Weather Report. This has been a cold December. What is surprising is that after the extreme low temperatures, the soil temperatures were not colder. A map of 3-day soil temperature averages from Sunday through Tuesday at 2 inches had averages below 32 degrees in the Panhandle, but many locations had averages close to 40. Part of the answer to having soil temperatures above freezing was snow cover. A map of the snow amounts from December 5th and 6th showed higher snow amounts south of a line from Elk City to Kingfisher to Veneta. Consider graphs of soil temperatures from December 5th to the 11th for Hinton and Woodward at 2 inches. At Hinton, with 3 inches of snow, we see a line of fairly steady temperatures hovering around 34 degrees. At Woodward, with only a dusting of snow, the temperatures fell far below 32 and had much higher peaks and valleys in the graph line. Comparing the air temperatures for Hinton and Woodward, we see similar highs and lows from December 5th to the 11th, and both have patterns similar to the Woodward soil temperature graph. Here's Gary with a look at just how cold this December has been so far.
Thanks, Al, and good morning, everybody. Well, I certainly don't have to tell you folks that winter's been pretty nasty thus far. We've had a couple of battles with snow and ice already, and temperature's been downright frigid. Seems like the Arctic around here. Let's take a look at how many hours below freezing each Mesonet site has spent since October 1st. And you can see from 200 to more than 400 hours below freezing for the October 1st to basically noon through December 11th time period. That's pretty darn cold, especially when you compare it to last year during that same period. In general, as you can see from this figure from the Mesonet, about 2 hours more spent below freezing this year over last year. Now, one of the things that has become a bit of a worry is how dry it's been in northwestern and southwestern Oklahoma. They have gotten some snow, but snow doesn't amount to much unless you get a ton of it. And generally, we've seen less than 2 inches over the last 60 days, both up in northwestern Oklahoma and down in that far southwestern corner. And that amounts to about less than 40% of normal for that period, that's 60 days. So we're going back to about October 12th. Take those deficits and then you add the long-term water stresses from those areas from the 3 years worth of drought that we've had already. And what you see is drought intensification, even during the cool season. It's not really supposed to do that much, but when you get this dry and add it to the previous drought, it does tend to have an impact. And you can see that on the latest U.S. Drought Monitor map, where we went from D0, or that yellow abnormally dry area up there in northwestern Oklahoma, to full-blown D1 moderate drought. So, we have had drought intensification up in northwestern Oklahoma, and that was sort of expected if we didn't get more rainfall or snowfall. Snowfall helps, but rainfall would definitely be a welcome change as well, because that means it would be a little bit warmer. All right, that's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
Now we want to turn to our ag policy specialist, Jody Campeacci, for an update on the Farm Bill.
After more than 3 years of deliberation on the next Farm Bill, it still doesn't look like we're going to have a new Farm Bill this year. However, there is a small bit of hope, and it looks like the House and Senate Ag Committees may reach an agreement early next year. They're getting closer to finalizing the details of the Farm Bill. However, it just didn't happen this year. It's likely that a very short-term extension may occur. However, it'll be a little bit different than the previous extension, which was a year long, because it definitely looks like they are trying to get something done early January, maybe late January at the latest. Commodity producers will need to learn about the new programs. They'll likely have a choice between a revenue protection program and a price protection program. Both of those programs would be similar to programs in the 2008 Farm Bill. In addition, producers will have the option to add supplemental insurance coverage to their individual buy-up coverage level. These new programs, called Supplemental Coverage Option, or SCO, and STACS, Stacked Income Protection Plan, are a new thing for producers, because in the past, the option to add 2 insurance products for the same crop have not been available. So this is definitely something that producers will want to look at and learn how these new programs, both commodity programs and crop insurance programs, will impact their operations.
You've probably heard it said that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, I think this is what's happening with some new beef cattle research that was recently published in the Journal of Animal Science. Scientists from Oregon State University, from the ARS station, the USDA station in Oregon, and the University of Nebraska combined on a study to look at the effect of differences in body condition score of cows in the last trimester before calving as to its impact on not only those cows but the calves. What they did, they had cows that go into the last trimester weighing about 1,200 pounds. Half the cows they fed to get into a body condition score of about a 6. The other half, they cut the feed back to where they're only in the mid-4 body condition score range. There's some examples of cows on the screen that resemble the kind that they had in this study. As they followed those cattle on through the calving season and then the upcoming breeding season, what they found was that the cows in better body condition, yes, did have larger birth weight calves. And so somebody might think, well, that's a bad deal. No. As they took a look at the records, they actually had 10% more live calves from the cows that were in good body shape. As they followed those calves then on through weaning time, the calves from the cows in good body condition, plus the fact that there was more of them, produced 57 more pounds of weaning weight per cow from the group that was in good body condition than from the group that was thinner at calving time. And 57 pounds a calf in today's market is really a substantial amount of dollars that we can think of that we can spend to help these cows stay in good body condition during the winter before calving. Then, as you follow those same cows through the next breeding season, the cows that were in good body condition the previous year going into calving had a 92% rebreed rate, whereas their counterparts that were fed to be in a body condition score 4 before calving only had a 79% rebreed rate. So, as we think about research that's been done in the past, perhaps on smaller cows, as we looked at it again in the 2013 time frame with 1,200-pound cows, the answer was still the same. Body condition calving is a real key to success of a beef cow herd. And we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
USDA has released the latest WSDA numbers, and here to break those down, Kim Anderson, our grain marketing specialist. Kim, let's break down some of the commodities, and let's start with canola. What's the news there?
Well, if you look at canola, Canada just had a large canola crop. Canola prices, and let's just look at the forward contract for next June. In the last 2 months, it's went from about $9.85 till yesterday. It was $8.95. So we've taken around 90 cents off of that contract in the last month. The crop looks really good.
All right, what did we learn about soybeans?
Soybeans, that's been the bright spot in the grains. Soybean prices have been going up for the last 6 weeks. We got a positive report on that. Higher prices. The soybean stocks lowered to 150 million bushels, 20 million bushels lower. We have resistance on that soybean contract, the January contract at $13.53, and support at $13.14.
All right, of course, we always have to ask about corn. That's a big crop for us. What's happening in corn?
Well, corn, we had a positive report there. We had a 50 million bushel increase in exports, a 50 million bushel increase in ethanol, a 50 million bushel in seed, food use, like that. Ending stocks were lowered just right at 90 million bushels. And in the corn contract, the March contract, we got support at 418.
All right, so now, of course, the crop everybody in Oklahoma is most focused on. Let's talk about wheat.
Well, not much changes in wheats. I think the USDA increased ending stocks number by 10 million bushels to 575 million. And you can compare that to 718 last year, or 7 million bushel average on a 5-year average. They increased Argentine production by 10%, Australian production by 4%, Canadian production by 13%. Overall, ending stocks in the world, they increased by 2.5%. Of course, wheat prices went in the tank, dropped again. That March contract does have support at $6.73.
All right, now let's talk that world situation for wheat versus the U.S. situation. There's a little bit of difference there.
Yes, it's stocks are relatively tight in the United States. We mentioned total wheat stocks, but you got hard red winter wheat ending stocks less than 200 million bushels. They were 325, 330 last year, so very tight hard red winter wheat stocks. But you look at the world, we talked about the increased production in Argentina, Australia, Canada, and those are competing countries. So the world ending stocks are just 2 or 3% below the 5-year average, more than abundant world wheat stocks. And right now, the world stocks are trumping the U.S. Wheat stocks, and prices are going down.
All right, so how is that going to affect our price for harvest next year?
Well, with the tight U.S. stocks, that puts us on a teeter-totter where it's just level out and you don't know which end's going to go down. If we have a short crop in the United States, then we could get a relatively good rally out of wheat prices. But that big world stocks is going to be like an albatross hanging on your neck, pulling prices down. If we have a big crop on the other side, we can get a significant move lower. So we got a pretty wide range. I've been predicting $6 for next June. I'd probably, it's possible to be down to around 5.25, or it's possible to be up around 7.5, 7.75.
All right, good information. As always, Kim Anderson, our grain marketing specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
In 2013, SUNUP traveled to every corner of this great state to tell the story of amazing Oklahoma agricultural producers. Now we need your help to decide which stories are the favorites of 2013. Take a couple of seconds and visit the SUNUP Facebook page to cast your vote. Then watch for your favorite SUNUP story in the Best of 2013 show at the end of December. Vote for your favorite today at facebook.com/SUNUPTV.
Now is a good time to mark your calendars for the Red River Crops Conference. Agricultural experts from both Oklahoma State University and Texas A&M will be on hand in Altus January 28th and 29th.
On the 28th, we will have a day committed to cotton production. And on the 29th, we will have what we're calling In-Season and Other Crops Day, in which we're going to look at everything from wheat to canola to sesame, other alternative crops, pasture. And so there's going to be something offered, I think, for producers that are invested in several production efforts on both days.
The mission for the extension, whether it be in Oklahoma or Texas, is the same: to take the research-based information and deliver it to the people. Right here at this facility at Altus, we know there's good research going on, particularly from a cotton standpoint. Well, I work at a research station in North Texas, south of the little town of Vernon, and we've got researchers going on there as well. And we've got really good young professionals there, just like you guys do here in Oklahoma, that are doing some really good research work, particularly on crop systems and cotton as well, and water management. We all know that's a major issue. So we needed to try to pool our resources and get all these good guys to delivering their information to our producers.
Registration is $25 for the 2 days. For information, contact your local county extension office in Oklahoma or in Texas, or just go to sunup.okstate.edu.
I think it's Oklahoma nature that when there's cattle on the highway, you turn into a cowboy. And we have Michelle Calvo-Lorenzo here to talk about the right way to do it. When cattle are on the roadway, what should we do?
Well, the first thing we need to do is recognize that with these animals out on the road, that can pose a great problem, not just for the animal and the livelihood of the people raising those animals, but for the drivers on traffic. So what needs to be done is recognizing if you yourself have handled livestock before. If that's not the case, then do not attempt to try and handle and move those animals that appear to be so easygoing. They, in fact, are not going to be as easygoing as the average person may think. They're in a fearful state. They're in unfamiliar territory. territory. And given the nature of the road that they're on, they may be very panicked. So the first thing that should be done if the person is able to move the animal and is experienced, go ahead and move that animal off the road. Try and prevent any oncoming traffic or accidents that animal may pose a threat to. And then the next thing that can be done is just picking up the phone and calling the local county sheriff or any local authorities, and just basically giving a full description of what that animal looks like, the hide color, the breed, any other source of description like the ear tag color, the brand logo, any information you can give that sheriff. They most likely know all of the landowners in the area and may be able to better target the owner and give them a call and let them know that their animals are out.
And actually, whenever you do make the phone call to 911 or whatever, and the law enforcement comes out, what should they be doing?
Yeah, so law enforcement officials aren't always trained to handle livestock, and if they have handled livestock previously, they may arrive to the site and help move that animal, keep it off the road, and maybe attempt to direct traffic and make sure the flow of traffic is not in any hazard. But if there are officials that are very interested in learning how to handle livestock and what's the appropriate protocol in moving large animals such as cattle, they can contact their county extension educators or their county extension offices, which are a branch of the OSU Cooperative Extension Services in Oklahoma, and get all of the training that they'd like.
Well, because you have a 1,300-pound animal that's scared and will
absolutely
could hurt you or themselves.
And the key thing is that officials need not use their sirens and their lights and their guns and their horns to try and attempt to move that animal as quickly off the road. Again, that can be done in a calm fashion that's much quicker than using all of that equipment. And so the key is to get the proper training before attempting to move that as an official.
Okay, let's talk about actually getting them off the highway. You have 10 or 15 cattle out on the highway or county road. Let's talk about moving them off of there. What should we do?
Sure. So for a person that is experienced and has handled livestock before, such as cattle, what a person would want to do is use the flight zone. And this is what we basically just call the personal space of the nature of the flight zone and that animal's interaction with humans over the course of time. The person needs to be aware that once they cross the edge of that flight zone or into that personal space, that animal will move and it will respond. And again, these animals being out on the road or out on the highway are in unfamiliar territory. If it's a busy road, there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of weather extremes or cars and sounds and objects moving around. As these are prey animals, they are highly sensitive to these sorts of things. So a lot of caution needs to be taken when trying to attempt to move the animals, and using the flight zone again, or the point of balance of the animal, which is an imaginary line you can draw through the shoulders of the animal, so that when you enter into that flight zone, you can approach the animal from behind the point of balance, so from behind the shoulders, to make that animal move forward, or you can enter the point of the flight zone from in front of the animal, so in front of that point of balance, to make the animal move back and away. And so again, a lot of caution needs to be taken if that approach is going to be taken by that person, as these animals are highly fearful and stressful during those situations.
But a lot of times, if you just pause for a couple seconds, let them, de-stress just a little bit, that helps a little bit too.
Absolutely. And because again, they are in a stressful situation, it is important to try and minimize as many distractions and noises or any sounds or movements that can stimulate or trigger that animal to take off, which would be a danger to, again, the person and the animal. So if that can be done in a very calm fashion, in fact, just moving the animal off the road onto a side ditch and try and maintain it there is actually the best strategy to keeping that animal alive, preventing any collisions with vehicles and people, and helping the owner find their animals as quickly as possible.
Okay, Michelle Calvo-Lorenzo, thank you very much. And you can find some more information on that at our website, sunup.okstate.edu.
There are different types of wheats that are grown in the United States, and they are classified not only by when they're planted, but also for their protein content and their protein quality. The protein in gluten form in durum wheat is very strong. It's very high protein content, and is needed for maintaining the structure as the spaghetti and pasta products are being dried. Hard red spring and hard red winter have the gluten is less strong than the durum wheat, but it is needed for yeasted breaded products. There is a difference between the spring and the winter type wheats, in which the gluten of the spring is so much stronger than the winter. We call the winter having a mellow gluten, which is very good for yeasted bread products. When you are interested in making cakes and cookies and crackers, you do not want a strong gluten because you want your product to be soft. So the difference in how the wheats are used is determined by their protein content and quality, because these will form a gluten, a three-dimensional matrix that will determine the quality of the product.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime on our website, sunup.okstate.edu. You can also follow us on YouTube and social media. From the North Range, I'm Lyndall Stout. We'll see you next time at SUNUP.
Next time on SUNUP, join us as we take a look back at some of our favorite stories over the past year.
I'm helping people who just had their houses gone, and this is the only way they can make the money to rebuild their homes.
Whenever you go out and get in there and start going, it's all out war. You got kids and they all know you, you know them, and you're all friends in the barn, but whenever you get in the show ring, it's just...
Slowly but surely, I started to fall in love with it.
And some moments that were probably best left on the cutting room floor.
If you saw my grains when I took Aggie caught in college.
A couple times. I remember when...
Is that what you had in mind?
That'd be good.